Also, most meat is covered in
So basically, I was a vegan for pretty much 6 months. And the reason I actually started a vegan diet was because I had a skin disease called eczema, where my whole body was actually covered in eczema.
So you were sick already and tried veganism for 5 minutes.
So I was like, okay, there's obviously something to this vegan diet that can heal your body. That's what I thought at the time.
Yes, you weren't wrong. A vegan diet done properly can prevent 14 of the 15 leading causes of death in the West, treat most of them, and reverse 5 of them.
Because why would I not try something? It's just like I would literally do anything at that point, because it was a very debilitating problem, you know, like being covered in rashes like that. Couldn't sleep properly at night. I had social anxiety because I had to worry about how I'm perceived in public, having like rashes on my arms and shit, you know, and like random acne. And so my health was completely screwed.
Health completely screwed going in. Check.
But I was like, okay, let's try the vegan diet. So I went vegan, and I started to eat pretty much completely vegan. I didn't even do any of the health. Some people say like, oh, you can be a vegan eating vegan junk food. I was like, no, I was completely vegan. I tried to eat the whole foods.
Well, I've got to give you props for that.
And then so I started to eat whole foods. I was eating like rice, quinoa, lentils, chickpeas, avocados.
I noticed that you didn't mention flax or chia then. If you weren't eating a decent amount of omega-3, then you'll definitely have, well, the potential for a multitude of issues. One of my clients had an undiagnosed gut issue for the longest time, found out she wasn't grinding her flax seeds, which you must do to absorb the omega-3, cured herself overnight. I know that that's probably not the whole list of things that you are eating, but you know, there's multiple food groups missing there. Perhaps you may have benefited from hiring a nutritionist such as myself, just in the initial stages.
I started off with like the low fat, like the high carb, low fat, but then I increased the fats at some point too. So I was eating a ton of calories, you know, like it was not like I was losing any calories or anything like that.
Many of my PT clients tell me that they're eating a lot of calories, get them on the scales, we see that their weight hasn't budged. So therefore they were not eating a lot of calories, they were eating the bare minimum just for their body to stay the same. From the way that you're not mentioning an actual amount of calories, I'll probably put you in the same camp.
And the diet did help to an extent. You see what I'm saying? Because so it did help a little bit. My skin got a little bit better. So that's why I was more attached, because there's tons of propaganda on YouTube and all this research to show.
Yeah, propaganda can be misleading, but studies can be very telling, particularly when they're not funded by the industries that stand to profit from the scientists finding them favorable. The meat and dairy industries have massive amounts of research dollars, while there's no such thing as a big broccoli. However, when independent studies are done, animal products are always found to be harmful, and whole plant foods are always found out to be very, very healthful by people who do not stand to profit from this data.
So that's when I started to develop this ideology and this one-way paradigm around, like, okay, the vegan diet clearly is the diet. I started to develop an ego around it. I was like, okay, I'm superior. Everybody else also needs to stop eating meat. All these people are delusional.
I don't think non-vegans are delusional. I just think that they're ill-informed.
And I started to really attach to this belief. You see what I'm saying? It's like you really start to develop an ego when you become a vegan.
Well, you seemed to.
Which is pretty ironic, because they think that they don't have an ego when they have the biggest egos.
That's a very broad judgmental statement. You seem to be erroneously using the word ego to only mean something negative. I think a better choice of word would be egotistical. I wouldn't make a blanket statement to say that a certain group of people are all one way. I'd say that we're all individuals despite having a trait that perhaps we all share in common, such as ethical beliefs.
And I'm generalizing, right? Of course, there's probably some vegans that aren't, but I'm speaking very generally.
You're speaking about how you were. Please don't tar us all with your brush.
So around 4, 5, 6 months in, I started to develop some problems. And so I had all these issues, like digestive issues.
A clever person would get some tests and find out what's actually wrong. A very, very silly person would cut out the healthiest foods on the planet in favor of just eating the most harmful foods on the planet. That's very short-sighted thinking, and it's going to lead to a short life.
I couldn't gain any muscle at the gym.
No, me neither.
Like zero muscle at the gym.
Oh, I know.
Because I was watching YouTubers, these vegan YouTubers with a ton of muscle.
Why, thank you.
Saying like, oh yeah, my gains are even better on the vegan diet. And then the whole protein thing is a myth.
Yep.
I worked out religiously 3 days a week at the gym, and I literally could not, and it was like intense, high intensity, low volume workouts that are known to build muscle. You know, it was like a structured program, and I could not gain any muscle at the gym. And it wasn't a calorie issue. I was eating a lot of calories.
How many calories? And how many calories are you eating now? Because I'm sorry to say, you're not looking all that swell now on your dead body based diet.
And another thing I wanted to say is that the more calories I would eat, because I thought it was a calorie issue, the more my digestion would be screwed.
One strategy would be to find out what's wrong with your gut and fix it.
I went from a 6-month, 100% disciplined, whole foods, plant-based, vegan diet, no animal products. And then I completely switched over. The first night I had salmon. And then the second night, I just said, screw it, and I just got 2 fat steaks. I was like, whatever, let's just try. Because I needed to know. Because I watched your videos.
Oh God, it's very just ass backwards, unschooled, total bullshit, anti-nutrition. You poor what were you thinking?
And I was like, okay, I'm closing my mind right now. There's something that I'm missing.
Yes, professional help from somebody that actually knows what they're talking about.
But I was like, no, that's just my ego. Let's try the animal product. So I had a steak.
Full of lovely cholesterol, trans fat, sat fat, heterocyclic amines, mammalian estrogen, other natural and unnatural hormones, antibiotics, GMO producing carnitine, hydroxyradical producing heme iron, environmental toxins that bioaccumulate up the food chain, and endotoxins, etc., etc. Also, most meat is covered in
And the very first night that I had a steak, I literally had ridiculous, intense, lucid dreams. So that was interesting because my body was just like, I felt like, and I honestly felt a little bit high when I ate that steak.
You might be on drugs.
My head had this feeling, I have no idea how to explain it, but I started to just feel so calm. And it's just like there was this pressure in my head where I honestly felt like I smoked a little bit of weed in a way. Like I wasn't high, I was just like very calm, and I haven't had that calm feeling in months. Looking back as a vegan, I couldn't even stand up for myself in an argument. I was like,
I'm pretty calm. I'm certainly a lot calmer since not having all those animal hormones coursing through me. Imagine the amount of adrenaline at the point of your execution. And I'm more than happy to stand up for myself.
Subconsciously, I'm like, oh, I don't have enough energy for that. I'll just go home. He's just, you know what I'm saying? Like,
no, I've never experienced that.
Another thing I didn't mention is my sex drive was completely nothing on the vegan diet.
On your version of a vegan diet, I'm not having any problems. I imagine my might look like a handle grip by now, were I single.
But then right when I started eating animal products again, my hormones started to work a lot better, which correlated with my skin health as well.
Okay, so I imagine you weren't eating a nutritionally dense enough diet. Things like zinc, which is very important in the production of testosterone, are highly concentrated in some animal products, though of course it did initially come from the plants. Despite the fact that Harvard University says that vegetables are 16 times more nutritious than meat, it can be possible to be low on certain nutrients if you don't eat a diverse enough whole foods plant-based diet. I will add though that while it is possible to eat an unhealthy vegan diet, it is impossible to eat a healthy meat-based diet, given that the consumption of animal products is the #1 cause of death among Westerners.
When I introduced the animal products back into my diet, my vibration wasn't affected negatively at all. In fact, I feel like I have more life force in my body now.
What does that mean? Like midi-chlorians?
My meditations are even better. My state of consciousness, whatever you want to call it, I just feel good.
You feel good knowing that other conscious beings are being forced to endure enslavement, mutilation, infanticide, electrocution, suffocation, gassing, getting shot in the head, having their throat slit?
I feel better as I eat the animal products. And I was just, because there's all these like monks that eat a vegan diet or whatever, and they say like, oh, like that's healthy. And it's like, bro, they're just desensitized to their biological needs.
No, it is really healthy unless you somehow manage to it up like you did.
And the reason they eat a vegan diet is because they're trying to lower their sex drive.
No, they're practicing what they preach, compassion. Vegans have higher levels of testosterone. And you want to check out the study in the Game Changers movie, which drops soon. Athletes had 13 to 15% firmer and 300 to 500% longer duration of nocturnal erections after the vegan meal.
Like you said, there's like over 10 to 15 nutrients that you can't get from the vegan diet.
Oh my God.
But even if we get rid of the nutrients that we have labeled, my experience shows me, and I value anecdotal experience because some people attach too much to science.
Some people attach too much credence to proven facts.
Because who knows how many nutrients that we haven't pinpointed yet that you need from those animal products.
Virtually all essential nutrients originate from plants or are made by animals such as ourselves from plant precursors. At the rate that we're discovering phytonutrients, that's nutrients in plants, experts say that there's likely 100,000 yet to be named. So by your logic, by cutting out all plants, you must be the dumbest guy on the face of the planet.
And B12 is definitely one of them because my energy levels just came back. I started getting strength back at the gym.
Yeah, the B12 that you're getting from animals is a supplement the same as what I'm taking, which you say doesn't work. And also, you look like a small boy next to me. No offense to any small boys watching, you are great people. So don't speak to me about how ineffective a vegan diet is at building muscle.
How do you see the future of veganism?
If you look at it from a marketing perspective, it's way, way, way cheaper and easier to produce all these plant foods.
You got that right. So given the population explosion, the fact that there are several 100 million starving people and the environmental impact of food production, everyone needs to go vegan pretty damn quickly, don't they?
It's just, oh, it's whole grains, it's healthy for you, and there's no science to back that up, but here's the marketing, and let's just believe it because that's what we've been told.
There is a mountain of data proving whole grains to be amazingly healthy. You seem to believe this random carcass-eating idiot with no background in science and nutrition over the real authorities. People like the Academy of Nutrition and Dietetics, the British Dietetics Association, and the World Health Organization. Common sense is not your strong suit, son.
And so I don't really want the future to go in this direction, but it seems like it's getting popular and it's getting, people are believing that it is healthy when it is actually lowering their level of health.
What a
And I think more people are also going to wake up to the fact that these animal products are necessary because humans will have to realize that eventually.
You poor dear. And he calls vegans delusional.
We're so smart, but we haven't figured out diet.
Some of us have.
I don't think it's going to be really popular.
You'll get something right eventually, I'm sure.
But I think our biology will override that eventually because we can't be completely oblivious to, even if somebody stays vegan for 5-10 years, they'll realize that their health is going to shit eventually.
Yeah, I've got friends who've been vegan for decades, up to 60 plus years. They're all thriving and look a damn sight more healthy, vibrant, and physically stronger than you.
And so there's no possible way for veganism to get on a mass scale.
Just watch us.
In terms of they can market it as much as they want, but the smart people will realize that they're losing their health from fully plant-based.
Or to put it another way, one dumb you couldn't make it work, while most people are seeing massive benefits to their health, including disease reversal. While you're only eating foods associated with all the killer diseases. How can you be this thick? If what you've been saying is all true, I understand the temptation because you get an instant relief from your symptoms, but you're setting yourself up for far worse problems down the road. Give it some thought, son.
Were you also into the ethics? Did you believe that killing animals is wrong, or was it mostly about the health?
Oh yeah, I actually didn't mention that. When I started, it was just for health reasons. But then because of all the propaganda, I actually started to develop compassion for the animals too.
Propaganda made you compassionate. So how did you arrive at this conclusion? Did you initially watch Earthlings and the emotion-stirring music kind of tipped you over the edge? And then I guess you must have retested by turning the sound off and you realized you were okay with the suffering and abuse as long as there was no soundtrack on, and maybe you did an ABA study design where you turned the soundtrack back on, heard the music and immediately started blowing your eyes out. Is that how it went down?
And then I connected my spiritual beliefs to that too. I'm like, oh, we're all one. So why would you consume animals? Because you're consuming yourself and all this. And I did develop a little bit of ethical beliefs.
Oh my Lord, how preposterous, not wanting to cause suffering to others. Whatever next?
And, but I started to slowly realize that was my ego being disconnected from death. You see what I'm saying?
I've got no idea what you're babbling on about.
Because as a society, we're very disconnected from our natural instincts.
Yeah, I'll agree with that, because we don't see the animal being killed, and clever marketers throw around the word humane. We're tricked into thinking that we're okay with it, whereas only someone with Swearingen's mental disposition would actually want to hurt an animal if they were the one that had to do it.
And we like to be all happy and healthy, and it's like, oh, how vegan? You ever notice how the vegans are always so like happy and healthy and like, oh, everything's good?
Yeah, I have noticed that. I feel awesome.
And it's like, no, you're actually stressed and you're running away from the reality that's in front of you.
Well, it's a good job I've got you here to tell me, because I'd have had no bloody clue that I was stressed.
And so I did develop those beliefs at some point because in your mind, you connect the health with the ethics and it builds your ego even more.
What the is this boy on about? Most vegans I know eat a pretty junky diet, almost as bad as eating a dead body-based diet. He seems to be telling us about his ego, but projecting it on to everybody else. Weird.
So you're like, oh, I'm being healthy and I'm saving the animals. It's a win-win. Like it's all good now. I'm just winning. I'm winning in life and everyone else is losing.
Again, you're talking about your experience, not mine. Why do you presume to speak for every vegan? Ego much?
And that's the mentality that you get into when you start connecting everything. I was connecting my spiritual beliefs, my ethical beliefs.
That's the mentality you got into.
And you see how this ego construct starts to come together in this way.
I see how it did for you.
Listen, if it was up to me, if I could thrive on my health as a vegan, I would.
Awesome. Run some simple gut tests to find out what's wrong and then treat it. Slowly transition over to the whole plant foods so that your gut enterotype shifts towards the health-promoting Prevotella strains of bacteria and kills off those nasty pathogenic Bacteroides strains of bacteria associated with meat eating. Have you noticed that all these ex-vegans have gut issues that they fail to diagnose or treat at the root?
You see what I'm saying? I didn't want to believe that I needed those animal products, but now I'm realizing it's just stupid because you need to have those products in your life to thrive.
Please could you tell me the essential nutrients found only in dead bodies that we can't get from any other source? But please don't repeat Swearingen's bull list of non-essential nutrients. Things like carnosine, a simple dipeptide that we make from lysine and methionine, or vitamin K2 that bacteria and several of our organs make from the abundance of K1 that we ingest, or cholesterol that we synthesize from acetyl coenzyme A, etc., etc. I am really bored of hearing about these 10 to 15 essential bull. I nearly fell asleep. You know, where's the hospitals full of vegans dying from vitamin A deficiency? All I see is rows and rows and rows of meat eaters dying from heart disease, cancer and diabetes. Wake the up.
And my ethics, I have to just, if I need these animal products to thrive.
Come on, are you honestly going to take the word of a zombie-looking, pig-head-eating simpleton over that of a nutritionist with about 10 times your level of strength?
I need to let go of those ethical beliefs, in my opinion, because I have priorities where my health goes above my ethics. And I hate to say that, some vegans will disagree.
No, I believe that we have the right to good health. You're just dead wrong about animals needing to suffer for it. Not only that, but you're heading for an early grave.
But my health goes above my beliefs. You see, my beliefs are just a thought, and my physical health has a priority over a belief that I hold. So that's where my ethics are right now. And if you want to do it for ethical reasons and you prioritize ethics over health, then by all means, go ahead. But I value my health.
You seem like a very spiritually minded person. What do you believe happens to our consciousness once our temporary meat suit gives out? It seems strange to ditch your ethics, which are embedded in your consciousness, while you leave your body behind. Many different spiritual teachings from a range of cultures all around the world speak of a judgment when we pass over. Would you be confident that you did everything in your power to cause the least suffering? If you don't learn compassion in this life, will you be made to feel that animal suffering in the next by way of a lesson? Some spiritual teachers think that our consciousness manifests its own personal hell.
Very well said.
Thank you, Sheriff Shinetop. It's nice how you've opened up a skating rink for flies on the top of your head there. Oh, shut up. At least I do mine on purpose. YouTube thinks that you should watch this video next. Don't watch it. You'll really hate it.